house dwelling, stuff like that. Now, your cars, not so much, your tall grass, no. We give them the option, we give them the option to, hey, go ahead and comply, and we tell them, and we would prefer you comply. You know, we really don't, you know, we're not here to make money off of you, you know, because, that's been, clearly stated through, you know, the judge's courses, you know, the municipal court is not, you know, a city's HEM, and it shouldn't be treated that way. But like I said, hey, you bring us proof that you complied and remedied the problem, and we'll work with you. You know, granted, it hasn't exceeded those days, but usually what happens, it goes beyond their court date, you know, for whatever reasons, and then they'll still wanna do it, and it's like, you know, we can't, because it only allows us a certain, period of time.
Council, is there any other questions? Judge, if I may?
Certainly.
I can update you guys on, I had a chance to visit with the deputy chief sheriff about the judge's warrant roundup. And one of the problems and issues too is I've had a chance to sit down with him and go over these reports. If you look, there's probably thousands of outstanding cases, and some of those date back 20, 25 years, people that may even be deceased. But there's various, and so when you look at this report, you see that this case may be dismissed. It may not be a current ticket, it may be something that was done previously, but anyway, encouraging is when I asked the deputy chief if we could participate, if he would participate with us, the difficult aspect that the judge experienced is no real leverage, you know, like, hey, pay this ticket or else. But the deputy chief said absolutely, work with us with a warrant roundup, and then work in conjunction with the JPs, so on and so forth. So I don't know, Judge, if he can put 15 beds aside, but certainly,
That's what we should.
yeah, that's what we should, but certainly working with that. And then other things too that the judge was sharing that has value is there's a system, correct me if I'm wrong, with the driver's license. That when you go to renew your driver's license, if there's an outstanding ticket, bingo, they don't renew. And the same thing with our tax assessor collector. And the judge and myself are gonna go by and visit with tax assessor collector to make sure that's up and running properly. So we've got some things with some leverage out there that should enable us to, and it's not, and again, 100,000, 200,000, every little bit matters, don't get me wrong, but it's not like we need more money, so go out and write more tickets. No, it's not all about that. It's making people comply with the law. There's a consequence if you don't, and then we have the judicial system to walk that through. So, so anyway, counsel, any other questions for the judge? Judge, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming and
Thank you.
telling what's going on.
Mayor, may I say something?
Yeah.
In
This
regards
is
to
our clerk, our city municipal court clerk. Monica, come on up. I don't know if y'all know
I
this
wanted to
month.
introduce myself because I don't think any of you know me. And this month marks my 4 years of being here. I'm the court clerk for the city
Come
of
on up
Pearsall.
to the,
I'm the court clerk for the city of Pearsall and I've been here for 4 years. So on the 11th of this month, it'll mark the 4 years. I've gone through a couple of judges and I've changed places. But yeah, we're touching base on the stats. So I just wanted to let you guys know that the OCA report that we provide to you guys, it has everything on there. So you were asking about the dismissals, the percentage of the dismissals. That is on our OCA every month. So we print it out, we give it to Crystal, Crystal puts it in the agenda. So if you have questions on that, that'll tell you on the OCA. It has a portion for the cases that are being dismissed by the prosecutor, the cases that are being dismissed through the compliance dismissals that the judge was explaining. You also asked about stats on like the animal control. Since the new animal officer has been here, since July 7th, 22, he has up to date, he has given 127 tickets alone. So he's doing a really, really good job out there. And I also do provide a report. The manager gets it, we have a meeting, and I have on there everything that's being dismissed, everything pending, keeping track with the animal control and code compliance. I've only got one citation since the new officer has been on board. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys and let y'all guys know that all the stats, if you have any questions, it's on the OCA report.
and that page 97 is pretty informative. I'm sorry, go ahead,
It's
Councilman.
just that we just get calls on stuff, you know, I mean, I don't know if some of y'all, but we get calls on some that, you know, oh, that this happened and oh, they didn't do nothing, but why did they do it to me and this and that, you know, so that's why I bring up these questions
Yes,
because of
ma'am.
that.
I will say this, just to touch on one thing. The animal control officer does issue quite a few citations, but with that, he also has done some things again, and he's not here to either speak highly of or beat down, but he's also done some things that we've never done here before. Adoption stuff, he's adopting out to agencies that we've never worked with, and so there's these dogs we've put down historically that they've gone, I don't know how many dogs have been rescued, but there's been several animals, so he's taken it upon himself to do a lot of this. He's looking for some grant opportunities for the animal shelter. I told him I'd work with him on that. I honestly, I haven't done that yet, but it is something that he is doing his part to try to get, we don't wanna put animals to sleep either, and we don't wanna, that's not our goal, so, he is doing some things that are helpful to the community.
So that, Council, there, on page 97, there's a really good kind of comprehensive month-by-month report that kind of goes in conjunction with page 93.
Yep, on that report, we try to simplify it for you guys, so that way you can see just like the main stuff that's going on in the report. And it'll have, it's a breakdown of the main stuff that you guys might wanna take a look at and see.
And you can see on page 93, like the cases pending 3,000 some odd, a lot of those, need to be dismissed. They're old, so anyway, and it just accumulates into big numbers, so, working the way through that is another objective. I think our, city attorneys, prosecutors working with us on that as well.
And Judge touch base on some of the things that we could do to try to get these people to pay tickets. One of the things that we utilize, if you have a contract with county, which is, Austin holding their license. Another thing, Judge, did you, touch base on capital?
That's what I'm talking
Okay, yeah, that was another thing that if we could really get our registration office to work with us. Back in 2019, we got an approval to work with them, and we had our software program go and install a program in their office. We gave user IDs to everybody. It's just a matter of them actually initiating the process, and when they try to go get their license, of course, if they're local, we can get them that way. They won't release that registration until they come into the office and pay their ticket here, and then we can send them a notice that they're good to let them have their registration. So there's, some things to kind of get those revenues in, because I've been here for 4 years, and we've seen I myself, from just working back there, I've seen a decrease on a lot of these cases, financially and coming in.
Thank you very much. So appreciate that, Judge. Thank you, Clerk. All right, moving on to item 8K. Discuss and consider modifying the code of ordinance to remove the minimum square footage required for a residential dwelling and to allow portable units to be used as dwelling. This is an action item. I'll ask for a motion. Motion by Councilman Leal. May I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Hernandez. City Manager? you're on the floor.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm gonna start a little backwards, what you see in your packet here. Look at page 90 of almost the end of the packet. It is in the packet actually, as far as the agenda. You see what we try to do is highlight, this is all in the code of ordinances. This is basically what our code of ordinances says that we can and can't do regarding dwellings, okay? It defines what a dwelling is, what a single-family dwelling is. You'll see that. I'm not gonna read the definitions to you, but it does reference what a dwelling is, okay? So the significance to that is if you look back on page 89 of your packet, in our zoning code, what it references on where I have to highlight them with a minimum dwelling unit size, single family. What it references is they have to be 650 square feet for a single family dwelling. So that's the minimum square feet of dwelling, okay? So that's what I want to point out, that's something if the council decides that they want to allow some of these structures, that provision would have to be struck out from the code of ordinances. That's been in there since 1980 something, been there a long time.
going back to these individual cases of these units, and I think we've approved one. We've approved one portable unit, to be allowed to be used as a dwelling, or residence, somebody's gonna live there, okay? Matter of fact, I think this gentleman was gonna speak to that, I was hoping to stay, I think Mr. Vela spoke to it a little bit. But anyway, these units are, the difficulty we have, council, is that we don't know how they're built or structured. So all we rely on is what the engineering firm or the folks that actually designed it, constructed, you'll see it in your packet. That's what they tell us, is these units are for this and they're not for this. If you look at, on page 85, you can see, think really, really carefully.
Can you,
You read it.
do you wanna read, do you want me to read it?
Yeah, really, you got better eyes than me, I can't read this stuff.
Okay, so under section 10 miscellaneous, 10.1, this building has been designed for the loads noted on this drawing. 10.2, foundation plans are not part of this plan set and are governed by local jurisdiction. 10.3, buildings are approved for residential lawn storage only. Do you want me to keep going?
No, I think that's pretty much the extent of most of these buildings, and these are the folks that actually design these buildings, these structures. I don't know what to call them, they're not dwellers, because it's clearly telling you that they're not designed for residential use. Now, this is where we're at, is we have at least, we've approved one, and I can't say, that one is, have these conditions, but these, a couple that we received the past couple weeks, past month or so, it's written on there that they're not built for dwellings, for residential use. And so, what I'm asking the council for some direction as to whether we want to allow these things, and if so, do we want them to, in my supporting memo, my memo is, do you want to allow them to use as residents, and if you do, we're asking that at best they be brought up to code. They have to be brought up to building code, because right now they're not suited for, they don't meet building code. So we run into challenges here, and so what I'm looking for is that if you want to allow, really what they are, quite frankly, as Mr. Vela alluded to, they're storage sheds. That's what they are, that people want to use as homes. Simple,
Fair.
to the point.
I mean, my opinion is,
Yeah.
it's clearly what the engineers are saying, that it's not meant for residential. And I would hate to get in some kind of legal, situation because we decided to go against something that's written in black and white. So, I mean,
Is there any other questions, Councilwoman Garza?
And it's gonna drop your property values too with your surroundings.
And unfortunately, quite frankly, council, some of these folks, and I'll share this, as Mr. Vela mentioned, some of these people have already bought these buildings, okay? They have them, they bought them, they spent the money, I get it. We know of at least two, right? At least two that we know of. And so that's where it's kind of one of those, well, we say no, we're saying no to that, they've spent the money. So I just wanna make sure, now that part of it, they didn't come in, a lot of times what happens is they'll go buy the structures and they'll say, hey, I want to put this on my property, but it's already there. And so they spent the money to do this, and so it's kind of one of those, well, do we allow them to do it in the work conditions, right? Right now, we have two cases like that, which is, again, this gentleman is one. And then, I don't know if the other folks are here, but that's kind of where we are, with these buildings, and not, again, from our standpoint, we just don't, I don't have a way of treating, I can treat manufactured homes, I can tell you that they're built to a certain quality, stick-built homes, industrial homes, these are things that I haven't dealt with, and it's something for me to.
what I would say is, refer them back to the engineering plan and say, we're going based off of this, it's not for residential use.
That's what we're doing, is we're saying, they're saying this, and Crystal actually reached out to the design company, and what they're saying is that they're not willing to provide anything in writing.
And there's a reason why.
That they're, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't wanna put, is that what they're?
That is correct. It was actually, Stormore. They both bought it, oddly enough, both individuals that have, come to us have actually purchased this from the same retailer. Now, the manufacturer itself, I believe, is based out of Louisiana, they're not even in state. So unfortunately, these individuals that go into this retailers, and, the retailer, yeah, we have a lot of people that do this. We have a lot of people that, purchase these sheds and then they convert them into dwellings. Well, not every city unfortunately has the same codes. They all have different codes, they all abide by different codes. So yes, I did email, the retailer, and I did ask them, is your engineer who stamped these designs right here, are they willing to provide a letter, that this is for residential use? Because the manufacturer stated that they sell hundreds a year and are converted into dwellings. Their engineer said no, they would not put their stamp on it. They wouldn't even provide a letter stating what they needed to do to bring it up to code. So that's a flat out no,
I would-
unfortunately.
Personally, I would say until the engineers give the approval, then we give the approval.
Councilman, on that end, again, the question from my standpoint is, we're gonna deny them unless the council says otherwise, and that's kind of where we're, I don't have any other, anything else on my end that I can, without changes to the ordinance, I can't.
One thing that he did mention though, that I'm gonna throw out is that he did mention the fact that, he wasn't aware of this or that we didn't promote this
Right.
to the citizens. So I think, I agree with James on the liability end of it and it's precaution there, but also to let the citizens know, a lot of citizens don't know. And you're right, they're going out to buying these homes without coming here first. Cause they are not aware or educated in the area as to what we have, what codes they have to buy, what permits they have to, they don't do that. They're not familiarized with that,
Right.
that language on it. So I think, again, it's part of the being transparent to our citizens, what we can and cannot do. On it is gonna be key to something like this, is stopping it, to say, you know what, it's out there. It's on our webpage, wherever you wanna find it, wherever it's at, so therefore it's there. But when we don't do that, that's where we run into this.
What we may do on our end is do a Q&A. We just do a Q&A, our storage is allowed to be used as homes, and answer that Q&A. If it doesn't meet code, if it doesn't meet this minimum square foot requirement, then the answers.
Yes,
And
Justin,
it-
I actually do have some FAQs already in progress, putting ourselves in the customer's shoes, and then I'm also taking the questions that they brought to us to also include in there. So we'll have a little section also, we talked about possibly put on the paper, of course, our social media, and then of course on our website as well, sorry. So that is something that we are
We've got
having.
the paper here, so that could be a good thing too. Councilman Leal?
I think, it's not so much our fault on this because it sounds like not the manufacturer of the company, but the retailer misled
Yep.
the client and told them that they could do it, not actually giving them the paperwork that shows that it's not for dwelling or for residential. So this is something that we can't say, well, this isn't residential because we don't know what the engineer's plans state. So this is something that will have to be referred back to the client, to refer back to their retailer to make sure that they verify that it can be used for dwelling, it can be used for residential, and so forth.
We're gonna, unless the council says otherwise, we would leave the square footage requirement as is.
Yeah.
And two, most of these guys come in tow with the contractor. I mean, every contractor knows they have to file a permit first. Our permit clerk would have said, time out, this is not gonna work before you even get there. So dovetailing off your comment, Councilman Torino, as we do this and stick to the laws, folks are gonna realize, no, you can't do that first. You need to go file a permit, and now that we've got a full-time permit person, they know right off the bat, this is not gonna work. And dovetailing off of Councilman Leon's comment, we're opening ourselves, I concur, we're opening ourselves to all kind of liability if we allow that when it says thou shalt not, and we do that. So, any other questions, Council? With that, Councilman Leon, you made the motion, I'm gonna ask if you'll rescind your motion because it so reads, discuss and consider modifying the code of ordinance, and so if you would modify your motion to say to deny, the request for item 8K, and then second it, I think we'll go.
My motion will read to deny this for the reason that we will go based off of the engineering's recommendation on the map or whatever it's
And
called.
if you want to take it one step further and say no, maintain our current size
Yeah,
limitation.
maintain everything else as is.
Okay. Very good, that's our motion, and then, who seconded that? Did you second that? Are you agreeing with that? Okay, so now we have a motion by Councilman Leal, second by Councilman Gondeta, to not allow the modification and to keep the same square footage requirements. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, folks, at this time, it is 7:44.